I'm trying this one more time before I'm gonna go to bed. If you can hear me, it'd be wonderful to know. So let's see if y'all can hear me this time. Sound. Ah, yes. Okay. So y'all can hear me now. Yes? Yes. Woo, we've got sound. Woo. All right. So I've tried this a few times now to do this. I was saying earlier that I should have been in bed, but I am not in bed, as you can see. And as I'm not in bed, I saw that the time is now, where I am at least, past midnight, which means there's less than 24 hours left in this decade. Isn't that crazy? So, it was making me think, like, wow, what has happened in this decade anyway? Like, starting, 2010 to 2019. It's just weird that that's 10 years. And I was like, well, what happened in 2010? I released my album, The Other Side of Down, at the beginning of this decade. And what else happened? So it was back with Something About Love, The Other Side of Down. So this is just for me, And you can, as I think about my 2010, you can think about your 2010. And it's like, whoa, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but man, it was 10 years ago. So it's pretty crazy to think, I was 19. I was still a teenager at the beginning of this decade. I'm no longer a teenager. I've been this has been my decade of my 20s. And so it's, then after that, Something About Love and all that, what else happened? I announced that I was going to take a music break, and I went on my mission for 2 years, and I was a missionary in Chile, in South America. I lived there. So that was something else that was a huge thing out of my decade, of this past decade. And it just was interesting to leave music after suddenly being in it when I was a teenager. I didn't think I would become a music artist as a teenager. You see what I'm feeling? And and then to go from that and watch that all come about, then to go and take a break and leave music, that was a pretty big thing for me. And I guess it was, looking back, it was that was pretty daring. And then to come back just fresh out of coming back from being a missionary into music again. And then this decade I also had Postcards in the Sky with Numb and all the other songs with that new perspective, and kind of just the new, just figuring out what I wanted to do with music. As a teenager, I'm oh, I want to do music. I like music. But in my 20s, I felt like I decided, okay, I feel like I want to figure out what I want to do with music. It's okay, it's here. I'm sharing it with people, but it's is that it? Is that all I want to do, is just do just any whatever music? Or I feel like I want to do something with this. And that's what Postcards in the Sky was for me. And then I did a Christmas album. So my second Christmas album in this decade. My first Christmas album was the last decade. So isn't that interesting? And now here we are. Now I have to decide. So, think about what you've accomplished. What have you learned? How is this decade different for you from the last decade? What growth? And now, okay, what will happen the next decade? I had no idea what was going to happen this last decade. So I can't say oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this. You know what I'm saying? I'll do a third Christmas album. This third decade. But it just kind of, it's kind of interesting. Ooh, I'm liking to see what some of y'all have said. Someone had their first son. Oh, and I guess that's all that anyone said. Anyway, so it's just interesting to think, okay, what will my 30s bring? Because, I mean, well, I have one more year in my 20s. But then what will the 30s bring in my life? I'm seeing, I forget that the lives, they're delayed. Like, I don't see your responses to what I'm saying until like 2 minutes after. So I see people saying that I married my husband in this decade. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy this decade. My dad went to Chile. No. Anyway, so I've set some goals for the next year, but I haven't thought about the decade, what I want to see happen. I mean, okay, I do have some things I want to see happen. Like, I want to start a family. But see, I thought I was going to do that this decade. So it doesn't always go how you plan, you know? But I am excited because I already know I'm already going to start with some new music for this upcoming decade. So I'm excited about that. And just see what else it brings. Like, I feel so much more excited about the future than I did the beginning of this decade. I think at the beginning of my 20s, I was scared. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? I don't know I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I feel like this time I'm like, I'm ready. Like, I feel like I've lived enough, and it's like, okay, I've made enough mistakes that I've learned that making mistakes and it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing, because it's like, well, all right, that didn't turn out how I wanted to, but I'm still here. I'm still alive. I've still got, I can still be happy even when I've made mistakes or things didn't go the way I wanted them to. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of cool to just be ready for the next what's it called? Oops. Sorry, I almost dropped my phone. With the next decade. So anyway, 2020, I think it'll be I'm just very much looking forward to it. And so I just wanted to kind of savor the last day of the decade and just give thanks. I'm very thankful for the decade that my 20s has brought me, and for the music, for the things I learned, for my mission, for Postcards in the Sky for Christmas, and Tennessee. I've moved to Tennessee, which was nice as well. I mean, I lived in California and Utah as well, and Chile. So I don't know what will bring me. But I would say, if y'all want to take some time, like we always talk about, oh, this is what I want to happen next year. This is my goals now. But I think we should also take time. Let's take time to make some goals. I've written some goals down as well, and I like to keep a lot of my goals personal, I guess. But maybe I'll share some later. But I think we should also take time at the end of the year, end of the decade, end of a day, to think about the things that helped us grow, the things that we learned from, and just give thanks and say, you know what, that has helped me gain the perspective that I need. And it's not always like, oh, you don't even have to like the experience that you had. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to be like, oh, that was such a great experience. It was like, oh man, that was tough, or man, oh. But it's like, because of those hard things, we have the perspective we have. You see what so I feel like you mature, like you you, and you, I don't know what I was trying to say here, but the good and bad, happy or sad, is what makes me so thankful for the life that I have, like the ups and the downs and the decade. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. That is all. So yes, I wish a wonderful reflection of this past decade as you see how you've learned about life and about yourself and the perspective you've gained. And now, because of what you've learned and what you've experienced, you will now get to desire new things, want to try new things and accomplish things, set new goals, have new dreams, and a fresh, a new perspective of what you want for the next decade. So, yes, I think that is all I want to say to all of you. And sorry. When I double tap, I see some of these. Now that I know that people can send requests, not that I don't think I'm going to accept any requests from people tonight, because I need to go to bed so that I can get up to exercise in the morning. But thank you for listening to my thoughts on whatchamacallit. I don't know. My brain is leaving me. It is saying, "Are you going to follow me up to the bed?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll be there in just a minute." I'm going now. So, have a wonderful final day of this decade, of the 2010s, everyone. Yes. And we shall speak later. Adios. Sayonara.